Last week I did a video talking about Reverb's new price guide. In that video, I mentioned that I do not think for a second that Reverb is any real indicator, of what the used value of pretty much anything on the used market might actually be. Yeah. I truly think that eBay is still by far the more accurate place to gauge a value of something on the used market versus anywhere else. So, we're going to go through a couple of examples here, and I'm going to show you why. So, without further ado, all right, trusty old internet browser here. Reverb's new price guide, by the way, and this is something I believe they just launched. You go to Explore, this drop-down menu will appear, and then you go to Price Guide. I'm not going to click it because I'm already there. So, I come down here, and I've searched for the Ibanez XPT700. My trusty Ibanez Xiphos that I have used in several of my videos. Of course, you can see there's several different versions of that guitar. Mine is actually this one. I have the Blue Chameleon finish. So, select model, yada, 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 Blue Chameleon, 2007, 2008. Mine was part of the original run, which is what that is. There's not a mark on that guitar. I'm gonna call it excellent condition. Reverb is telling me that this guitar let's go back here over 2 years. Back in December of 2020, somebody paid $1,100 for one. They've dropped all the way down to, that looks like that must be that $659 figure right there. And then somebody paid $1,000 for one. The rest of them have all been, $600, $700, $800, $900. Looks like under $9, and that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 of them sold. Most recent one being one in June and July of this year. So, and those two sold for still more than, I think is any kind of indicator. I'm sorry, a 2-year history doesn't really tell you much, especially in today's market, as crazy as it is with used prices kind of going all over the place on a lot of things. So, let's go back over here to eBay. Again, exact same search, Ibanez XPT700. We are going to go to, over here on the left-hand side, we're going to scroll down until we get to completed items. And now, we have a little bit more realistic expectation. There, Blue-Green Chameleon, that is my guitar right there. $700. A best offer was accepted, so it sold for less than $700. It's probably safe to say it sold for somewhere between $600 and $650, and then of course $50 shipping. So, between $600 and $650, that's, and here's another one that's a little bit different finish that sold for the $550 range. There's not too many of these out there, but that's what has sold. And both of these, here's the thing about eBay completed listings. All of these are going to be within the last few months. This was August. This was just a few days ago. It's currently October 10th as I record this video. So this one, this listing just ended today. So nobody bid on it. But the ones that did sell, the ones that people actually paid money for, not listed and asked pricing for, but the ones that people did actually pay for, probably going to be in about the $550, $650 range. So compared to over here, Reverb's calling that the low end and saying that people you might be able to get upwards of $1,000, with an 871 median range. Bullshit. Alright, so let's try something different. Let's try searching for a Marshall Mode 4. These are fairly common out there. Nothing too extravagant. And another piece of gear I also happen to own. Price estimate. Mode 4, 2000, yada, yada. We'll see. We'll be conservative with mine. We'll call it good just to see what it says. Price gear. It's the MF350 head, by the way. Stretch it back out to 6 years because there's only been one sold, and somebody got $500 for theirs last month, but that's the only one that they've seen the last 6 months. So you go back 2 years, and as a matter of fact, that's the only one they've seen the last more than a year. $350, 350, 400 bucks. Down 79 bucks in the last 30 days, which I don't understand how that's even possible, because in the last 30 days they sold one that is, apparently the highest, that sold for more money than they've ever sold in the last 3 years. Before I go check eBay, let's check one more thing here. Let's see what happens when we up the condition. So let's go to very good. It's just bumping up one tick. Okay, so now they're talking between $600 and $800 for good condition versus very good condition. Mine is, I'm gonna call it, we'll call it very good. I mean, everything on it's in pretty good shape. So this is probably a little bit more accurate representation of my actual head. So, and even though it's still talking between $300 and $600, which is, as I mentioned in the video the other day, that's a ridiculous range. I mean, that might as well tell me somewhere between $1 and $1 million. That doesn't tell me shit. Okay, go back over to Mr. eBay. MF350. Make sure to pull up the heads and not the cabs. Marshall mode for MF350. Only one sold recently, sold for $375. That's probably pretty accurate. These things have been right around the $400 mark for pretty much as far back as I can, for quite a while anyway. I used to buy them at the store for years. And they would sell for right around $350, $400 all day long. Okay, still, this one again just sold a couple of days ago, $375. $375, which, again, that's not really reflective at all. It's reflective of the bottom end of this market here, which has been my findings with eBay completed listings pricing versus Reverb, pretty much for better part of a decade now. I mean, it's been like this forever. So, all right, let's try one more example here. Price guide. Something. Kyle Bull just did a live video on this amp. PV Windsor Search 100-watt guitar head. That's the one I've got. And again, condition, we'll call it very good, as opposed to excellent or mint or anything like that. Price gear. Go 2 years. One of these, by the way, I think is probably mine. Okay, so you're seeing here, between 211 and 371, it's saying as high as 479 back in August of 2021, so a little over a year ago. As low as roughly $200 about a year and a half ago, and as about $300 again as recently as August. This one might actually be a little bit more fair, a little bit more realistic. Let's see what this is. PV Windsor Search. Okay, so there's one that sold for less than $250, and that one's clearly has some mods to it. There's one that sold for, looks like the head and the cab sold for less than $400. So we can call that cab's probably worth $150. I think that looks like the Mode 4 cab. So we'd probably call that around $200. So even it's looks like Reverb may be even just a little bit high on this one as well. Let's try one more here. I know I said that was gonna be the last one, but I'm having fun with this. Let's try one more. Let's see. How about Marshall? Let's try my trusty Marshall JCM 900. I searched for this one the other day, and of course it was like, you know, the 4100s. I mean, that's when you're searching for Marshalls on sites like these, you want to search for by the model number. And the 4100 is the one that I own. Where the hell is it? It's not even on the first page. Jesus. JCM 900, 4100, 100 watt. There it is. Okay. Make sure they don't duplicate. 45, yada, yada. All right. These are fairly common. These have been out. You know, these are not hard to come by. 1990s black. You know, they're mine is a little bit different because mine was the first year they came out, and they came with EL34s that year before they switched them over to 5881s. But that said, looks like, you know, a lot of people aren't even aware of that, and that doesn't really increase the value too much. It does sound a little bit different, but as the market goes, we're just going to pretend like we got a good old-fashioned 5881 model. Mine I would consider very good condition. Price gear. Again, $667 and $1,219 over the course of 2 years. A lot of these are sold as high as $1,400 and as low as $650. Now, when I bought mine, these things were worth about between $600 and $700 pretty much all day long. You know, $750 you could get, you know, if you were patient. Anything, you know, maybe $8 if you were really patient. Anything beyond that, these things weren't bringing that much. You know, now they're saying, you know, these things are going up over $1,000. Starting back, you know, around, looks like December of last year. You know, so with the market price increases, that's, you know, I'll buy into that. Let's see what Mr. eBay's selling us. Less than 12, less than 7. Exact same, you know, that's the exact same amp. You know, so there's one for 14. There's one for an 800 range. Probably 750, 800. There's one for 5. That one sold in the UK, so chances are somebody probably paid euros for it, or British pounds. But you know, eBay converts to whatever your local currency is. So that's what that is. Same thing here. No, that was faulty. You get rid of that one. You know, but that's legit. That's legit. So, you know, you can see it not just here in the U.S., but all over the world. You know, there's, you know, they had one, you know, that did sell up around the $1,400 range, you know, and it was, you know, that was 94. You know, one that, you know, this one probably went for, you know, $1,000, $1,100 if I had to guess. You know, but the rest of them were all below $700, $500, $600, $700, you know, which is pretty much what I've seen them going for years now. So, you know, over here on Reverb, people were paying more, you know, and that's the reason why I think that is because there is just a cultural thing with Reverb that, you know, when you list your gear, you list it for absolute, you know, for you know, the absolute highest amount that you possibly can. You know, and I'm all for people getting as much for their gear as they can, but you know, the problem is most people just seem to trust Reverb that, you know, their pricing is accurate. You know, the used prices on Reverb are accurate and just pull the trigger, as opposed to shopping around other places in the market. You know, because eBay's been around since the mid '90s. You know, they have a way higher reach, or way farther reach. They reach a lot more people than Reverb does, even in the Etsy era of Reverb. eBay reaches a lot more people than Reverb ever has. So that, you know, that has been my findings with Reverb and their used pricing. There seems to be a very common misconception that eBay's pricing is a solid representation of the used market. And again, what I've noticed for over a decade now, that it is absolutely not. You know, yeah, this is just a few examples here, but you know, go back and forth on go back and forth for something, you know, a piece of gear that you're actually interested in, you know, that you might be interested in buying, and look them up yourself and see what what people are actually paying on eBay versus Reverb. I mentioned in my last video that I very, very seldom buy off of Reverb because while again, as I mentioned, I am all for people getting as much for their gear as possible. I admit to being a capitalist pig myself when it comes to selling my own gear. I want as much for it as I can get, so I get it. But when I'm paying for it, when I'm buying it, I honestly I don't remember the last time I bought a piece of gear off Reverb. It's just usually it's all way, way, way overpriced. The last thing I can remember buying off Reverb was my PV Windsor. I think that came from Reverb. A number of years ago, and I think I paid, I think I paid $275 shipped for it. So and shipping on it, what was it, $40 or something? So he was asking, $275 plus, $30-$40 in shipping. I don't remember what it was, and we worked out a deal that basically I got it for $275 shipped. So so he came down a little bit, but that was I thought that was a fair deal, but I mean generally speaking, I don't even bother making offers on eBay because everybody's got their stuff listed so insanely high. So next time you're in the market for a piece of gear, check other sources besides Reverb, because the pricing that you're seeing might not be real accurate, and in my opinion is not usually a very good representation of the overall used gear market in the MI industry. So thoughts, comments down below. Do the YouTube thing. Adios.